Papua New Guinea, and thank you for joining us here on Sportsin. It's always great to have your company. Now, for all you sport followers, I know you may have been following the rugby league matches that happened over at the National Football Stadium and also the OFC Champions League Group A matches, that is, at the Surgeon Guys Stadium on Saturday. For the ones following the third and final matches of Group A meets on TV, thank you for tuning in to your number one to watch, MTV. Now, you may have been enjoying the game in the comforts of your living room, but I can tell you, Bradley got baked out there on the sidelines. Bradley, how are you tonight in the comforts of this lovely studio?
Well, I can tell you, I feel lovely today, but out in the sun over the weekend for a worthy cause, of course. High level of football played at the Surgeon Guys Stadium, so didn't complain one bit. Yeah,
so what's one thought you can share with us coming away from a competition of that caliber?
Well, it shows basically that Papua New Guinea can host big events such as the OFC meet, OFC Champions League meet here on home soil, and a good crowd also turned up to support our boys.
All right, that story coming up later on the show as well?
Yep, that's right. So apart from that, we have other stories as well. We'll take a look at the Athletics PNG 2020 calendar, as well as the Tokyo 2020 segment, where our Boxers are leaving for Jordan to attend the Olympic Qualifiers. And introducing our second Have Your Say segment topic, sport anti-doping. That's an interesting one.
Before we get on with the show, let's take a look now at the scoreline this week. Starting with our favorite, Rugby League. The NRL trials at the Old Search National Football Stadium saw Canterbury Bulldogs beating Cronulla Sutherland Sharks 30 points to 18. While in the Inter-Super Cup trial, SPPNG Hunters reminded Central Queensland Capras that they can be a threat with a 30-12 scoreline. To softball, and after last weekend's fixtures, the Port Moresby Men's Softball Association currently see United Brothers, PNG Power and Defence currently leading the competition on 15, 14 and 12 points respectively in the A grade. Private Company's netball competition has just gone through semi-final rounds, with Westpac outdoing BSP 34 points to 30 over the weekend in the Premier Division.
To athletics, and the PNG Athletics 2020 calendar will not be as busy as the previous years, although their focus has already turned to the Pacific Mini Games. President Tony Green shared this earlier in an interview with Sportsin.
While PNG's elites in the likes of Toya Whistle and Riley Kaputin eye the Olympics in July, the rest of the athletes are slowly getting back into their training regimes ahead of the national championship that's happening later this year.
We don't have any major overseas event this year, so we'll be focusing on the domestic program. We're having the national championships in September, and that'll be in Port Moresby.
Having delivered most of the medals to ensure PNG's second place finish behind New Caledonia in the 2017 Pacific Mini Games in Vanuatu, the preparations for the national championship is of paramount importance. And with PNG Olympic Committee's rules and regulations, Athletics PNG will have to start the selection processes by the end of this year to meet deadlines.
Because the mini games next year will be in June, and because of the need to finalise the team early due to Olympic Committee requirements, we won't be having a nationals early next year, so we'll use the 2020 national championships as the selection. And then around the nationals we'll have the regional championships, Southern Region, Highlands, New Guinea Islands, and maybe this year we might even have a Mamasa as well.
We'll head out for these short messages. Do stick around. We have a roundup of the NRL and Inter-Super Cup trial matches over at the National Football Stadium. Up next.
Welcome back. You're watching Sports Scene. Bradley, would you just look at the scoreline for the Hunters game between Hunters and the Cappers, that is for the trial match for the Inter-Super Cup, 18 points margin.
Yeah, 30-12, you know. The Hunters were outstanding on game one. They were out to prove a point, and they didn't disappoint.
Yeah, and that's under a new coach.
Of course, Matthew Church going out with young men in the mix of experienced lads going into the match, and it was also good to see them on home soil, bringing the crowd together as post-match to the all-important trials for the NRL between the Bulldogs and Sharks afterwards. But as the coach quite rightly put it after the match, he really wanted to see how his boys would perform. He actually used all the 28 men from the train-on squad in that match, which was also good to see.
Yeah, and that was a good start for them as well to see that. Any key areas to point out from that match?
Okay, well, the coach, as you see from the match, tried a variation of tactics in set plays that were modified by the team and quite rightly carried out or executed on the field. With 28 men juggling them in the first half and the second half, there was some sort of consistency in between, so going forward, it will be a hard one for the coach to decide a team come the season proper.
And that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, there should be a constant supply of very capable players to take the field at any one time.
Exactly.
Yes.
So here's what the coach and the captain, Asa Boas, had to say of the match afterwards.
It was a good hit out. Dave's boys played it in really good spirit, so I think we both teams got a lot out of it. It's obviously really clunky to pay 28 guys, but I felt like they all deserved to at least get some game time in front of their home fans, and obviously before the NRL, it's a bit of a thrill for some of the boys to play before an NRL team. So yeah, I wanted to give them all 28 the hard work and pre-season just as a bit of a reward for them.
I think with the boys, like we come out here just to implement what we go through the pre-season and training, so the coach encourages us to go there and just play your game, what you go through and when you learn, so implement it there. So our focus is to go there and implement what we go through in the training. So I'm happy with the first half when the boys go in there. At least we try to stick on what we learn in the training and not to do expensive stuff inside this fancy stuff. So yeah, that's what we stick to, and yeah, yeah, that's what the first half looks like. Yeah, a lot of set play. We're trying to modify it and try to use it up every set when we arrive at the try line and stuff. So we try our best to execute it well. So when our execution is well and the timing is right, that's when the gap open and that's where the try is coming. So there's more improvement on our attack, and yeah, that's what we're looking for. So at least we get a first trial and see how we go. So we adjust from there.
Now, still on rugby league, it finally came down to game day on Saturday with the Sharks and Bulldogs meeting on PNG soil. That's actually after 20 years for any NRL clubs, two NRL clubs to meet here on PNG soil. Bradley?
Yeah, it was interesting. Basically, because of the fact that you had an NRL match played on home soil in Papua New Guinea. How cool was that? And of course, involving two clubs, Sharks and Bulldogs. Bulldogs, of course, came out with a fighting spirit at the end there, taking the match, of course. Well done to the Bulldogs. And it was also good to see a healthy crowd of Bulldogs and Sharks fans.
Actually, they turned up on the day they arrived, on Thursday, last Thursday.
Yeah, well, so in terms of the match, you could have, from the match itself, watching the match, the Sharks came into the match with an inexperienced side, a youthful side, of course, but the coach wasn't afraid to use them in between just to see how they fared. The Bulldogs came afterwards in the second half, a late surge, of course, saw them win the match. That also came with experience, maturity, but also good signs for the Canterbury Bulldogs, the Dogs of War, in this season 2020.
And look, for the Sharks coming in with a youthful side, obviously the coach took the risk to inject this type of players in because, it's the trial matches, so might as well put everyone on trial.
Definitely,
yes.
Definitely. Yeah, now, apart from the match on Saturday, there were some good community visits to the hospitals and also a fan day, which actually saw Port Moresby responding in huge numbers on day one, especially from when the NRL players touched down at of course, at the airport. Here are some of the highlights of the players' journey.
Probably just experience. We obviously had to come up here with an inexperienced side, and as the game went on, we only had less inexperience out there. But I was really happy with the boys, with the effort. Not only in the game today, but just the way they've applied themselves up here the last couple of days. It's been an excellent experience for them that's going to hold me in good stead, moving forward into the season. Like Dean, I think there's, this time of year there's always going to be errors, and unfortunately it's a pretty high penalty count tonight, so hopefully both clubs can fix that up. I think they end up 17 or 18 penalties for the game, so when we give away a more experienced side that sort of possession there, well, particularly in the second half, they're going to hurt you, and they found a couple of nice tries there.
I thought we sort of turned the ball over a little bit, and probably we give our discipline wasn't where it needed to be. So I think penalties were 9-2 at half time. So but I thought Cronulla had a ton of energy and held the ball well and done really well. So but for us, I thought the second half we sort of held the ball a little bit more. So that was pleasing towards the end.
Perhaps something that we could donate to the hospital, and maybe there's an opportunity maybe to raise a few dollars to help you, because you're doing tremendous work We're just here to play a game of footy. You're actually saving people's lives.
One 148 is the number, guys. That's 148 days to the Tokyo 2020, and PNG Boxers will be in Jordan by this weekend ahead of the Olympic Qualifiers that's starting next Monday. We caught up with them on Tuesday in one of the final sessions.
The sound of gloves pounding against the pads and sometimes the body head sparring, together with the right mindset, is a recipe for success. For these boxers, they've been at it for the last 2 months. Their eyes fixed on securing a spot at the Olympics.
We've been training 2 sessions a day, that's morning and afternoon session, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. And we're going to take 3 boxers for the Olympic qualifying event in Jordan. That's 2 male boxer and 1 female boxer.
This year's preparation has been really good. The Olympic qualifier was supposed to be in Wuhan, which we were going to go there, but because of the coronavirus that broke out, they cancelled the trip towards Wuhan. So it was really good that they've given us enough time to really prepare our boxers. So yeah, since January we trained. So this year, towards February now, end of the month, that we're traveling to Jordan, I believe that our boxers are really well prepared.
We are bringing the 63 kg boxer, John Ume. He's the current PNG champion and also Pacific champion also. And his ranking in the world is ranked number 12 in the world. Out of 97, 63 kg in the world, he's ranked number 12. And also the other male boxer is Jamie Chang. He's also silver medalist in the Pacific and gold medalist in the recent national championships. So he's the current PNG champion, and he's also ranked number 14 in the world in his category of 57 kg. And our only female boxer is Flora Loga. She's the Pacific champion also. She won gold in the recent Pacific Games in Samoa, and she's also the current PNG national champion. And she's ranked number 7 in a weight category in the world. She's going to participate in the 57 kg.
The team of 5 leaves for Jordan tomorrow to take part in the important qualifiers.
At the moment, I will really say that there's no funding coming for PNG Boxing Union. We haven't got any sponsors from other corporate houses or business houses that really stepped in to help PNG Boxing Union. At the moment, our boxers have been going through financial problems and funding as well. It's really hard. At the moment, PNG Olympic Committee had really stepped in to fund, to support the athletes that are going for the Olympic qualifier, Flora, John and Jamie.
For the Olympics, in order for them to qualify for the Olympics, they have to be in the 4th placing at the Olympic qualifying in Jordan. So that means they have to win a medal, either color, whether it's gold, silver or bronze. That will automatically qualify them in the recent Olympic Games in Tokyo.
And moving on to sailing now. Terry Kinuma has secured a qualification spot in the men's 1-person dinghy laser class at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. We caught up with him on Tuesday to see what's coming up for him in the next few months in lead-up.
Hello, my name is Terry Kinuma. I'm 20 years of age. I'm from Central and Gulf Province and I'm a sailor. Yeah, the sport of sailing. I started 2015. So yeah, right after right after the Pacific. I didn't compete in the 2015 Pacific Games because I was young. I was a bit lighter for the senior men's category, and yeah, it was really difficult for me to really get into the top 100 or top 1,000 in that class, and I think it was really difficult. I was only in the youth classes, trying to make use of all the Imaginations program that I attended just to get more experience and build my sailing and build my techniques and stuff like that in sailing. But yeah, it hasn't been an easy task, easy road from there. And yeah, missed out on the 2016 Rio Games, but yeah, it was after that I just kept sailing, and yeah, I was actually supposed to quit last year, but a lot of stuff made me change. Yeah, thankful to my parents who just held me upright even when I thought I just couldn't proceed. But yeah, after the Pacific Games, I told all my mates, you know, I think I'm not gonna make it to the Olympics. This is it. I'm done. Didn't get the results I wanted at the Pacific Games, and I'm just gonna call it quits, focus on my job and focus on life and what I really want to do. And then yeah, I was looking at it, and there was a last chance for me to qualify for the Olympics was the Worlds, and there was 2 sports available, and the only people that were going to the Worlds was me and my mate Aroni from Samoa. So yeah, I just had to, you know, stuck with it, get back into it and focus on that one, and eventually I got it. So. It used to be really tough before, when they used to have just one sport up for grabs for the Oceania, but now that they have 2 sports up for grabs, which Australia and New Zealand have already qualified at the Worlds, and which leaves those 2 sports up for grabs for the remaining Pacific Island countries to yeah, compete and get those sports. So I think it was a tough competition. Going into the competition thinking there was only one sport up for grabs, but there was actually 2 sports, and I thought I was going to lose that sport. And yeah, I wouldn't say it was an easy one to get, but yeah, I tried to give all my best, and you know, I was like, man, I'm going to sail till my legs fall off. That's it. So I need to go home with this. I mean, we've come a long way. It's been 28 years since PNG's been at the Olympics for the sport of sailing. Pretty much a lot of my time would be just spent out on the water, at least probably fitting like 2 or 3 days, two days a week maybe in the gyms, and yeah, get as much work as I can on the water, because that's something I lurk in, is very much my own water sailing. Yeah, I was doing more gym stuff, just focusing on my strengths and stuff like that. My body was pretty much built to just be, you know, look good and stuff like that, where if I would have spent that time on the water, my body would have adapted. That was something that I really liked in at the Worlds, and all the other sailors had the advantage of that, like spending so much time on the water. Like they train every day on the water, so that's something I have to really adapt to in the next couple of months in order to be in the best shape for the Tokyo 2020.
Congratulations to Teriki for qualifying there. We'll head out for a few short messages. OFC Champions League Roundup coming up next with Bradley and Jeremy Mogi. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Sportsing. Yeah, great to have your company. Joining me in the studio, our very own Jeremy Mogi. Jeremy, it's been a while. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, it has been a while indeed, Bradley. I think the last time I was on Sportsing was in the 2019 Pacific Games.
Pacific Games. Yeah. Well, great to have you on the show. Now, we'll talk a bit about the OFC Champions League, basically a roundup of the games for Pool A and Pool B. Hekari first up, your thoughts. Hekari returned to the OFC Champions League after 3 years' absence.
Yeah, with the split that had occurred between the PNG Football Association, and of course there was, I think it was FFPNG.
Yeah, that's correct.
So as a result, Hekari was expelled from the domestic NSL league, and of course that meant that had been expelled or removed from the OFC Champions League. But having said that, they came into this competition in really good form.
Yeah,
in really good form. They're actually top of the NSL after a handful of rounds, and of course their new imports that they brought in as well. So to an extent, even though they had spent that 3-year hiatus away from the highest level of competition in the region, they were still playing very top quality football. Football should be played,
of course,
at such a high level, whether it be in the OFC Champions League or even domestically here in the National Soccer League. If that's the benchmark that teams like Hekari United and Ley City have set, everybody else should be up to that standard as well.
And this can only happen when you have matches or group matches, especially hosted in one venue, and that happened for Papua New Guinea, where Hekari were hosts. So do you think in some sense this has contributed to reigniting the love of football, especially in a country that also has a huge following for football?
I think the love and passion for football has always been there. I mean, the best and the largest crowds you'll ever see are over at the Sir Ignatius Kilagi Stadium when Ley hosts their home matches, and when you have teams like FC Morbe Warrens, when these boys are playing, you see the crowds that go. That is real passion. Down here in Port Moresby, well, it's a little bit different in Port Moresby because there's such a spread of different activities that happen throughout when these NSL matches and even the O-League, OFC Champions League matches are being held. So the Port Moresby audience is shifting between multiple events that are happening as compared to, say, up in Ley.
How do you think this experience will contribute towards Hekari as a club and also the other teams competing in the NSL?
Well, for Hekari, you know, they've been here a lot. They've been in the highest level of competition, having won it, of course, at one stage. But for Ley City, I think they will get more out of this 2020 group stage than Hekari.
Very well said. Now, in terms of the two imports, the two Brazilians, what's your view of their performance over the 3 games?
For Eric Joe, I thought he brought some form of a lot more composure for Hekari. And I'm going to say this straight, you know, Daniel Joe, Karaku Paiga are both wingbacks, and they've been wingbacks for a very, very long time. One of the things about being a wingback is pace. When you get into your 30s, 31, 32 years of age, you do tend to slow down. So you would expect that Daniel Joe and Karaku Paiga would probably be playing, Korak for himself would probably be playing a higher attacking role, Daniel Joe a more central role, rather than drifting outwards from inside the central defense. Eric Joe coming into the fullback position for Hekari United is a massive bonus. As I said, he brought in composure, he brought in stability, and with the absence of David Muta, he also stepped up into a more defensive midfielding role. Yep. For Vinicius Vinicius Crezozun, this is something I made mention of a few days ago, that his footballing education is just at such a high level above ours that he brings a larger vision to the match. He's able to see things that his teammates can't. Like, there were a number of times when he had this really delicious through balls that was sent through. Nobody ran onto them. Yeah. And of course, when he has the ball, he's very comfortable with the ball. Very adept at keeping possession, and this is something I think that a lot of the younger Hekari players, and also throughout the NSL, should also be watching it. If you're bringing in these high-quality marquee players, see what they have to offer and see what you can learn from them as well.
Yeah. Over to Vanuatu, where Ley City was flying PNG's flag. They were streaming online the matches, and Papua New Guineans were also following. What about that 7-0 victory in the second match?
Well, that 7-0 victory was something that Ley really needed. After the opening 3-all draw, one of the first things we noticed that if you're going to score 3 goals, it shows that you've got a good attack. But if you're going to concede 3 goals, it shows that you're having problems with your defense. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, no matter how many goals you score, If the other team scores more than you, you lose.
It's a goal
So
for Leicester
that
City.
being said, after the 3-3 draw that Leicester City had, they did make changes. They did make changes that led to that 7-0 victory. I think it was over Lautoka FC from Fiji.
Yeah.
That match really placed, I also think, a lot of pressure on Leicester City. That after drawing 3-3 and then winning 7-0, they were expected to cruise in the third match. So you would have felt that there was a lot of expectation and a lot of weight on the shoulders of these players in that final match.
Especially from a region known for soccer, for example, the Mamosa region.
Yeah.
Leicester City, in reality, I was watching that game. The first of those goals was good. The second and third were more, the second goal was a defensive error, and the third one, to an extent, by then, Leicester City, the psychology of the match, they were getting frustrated, they were losing concentration, they were losing discipline, which allowed Malampa Revivers to really just capitalize and run past them. But I think that this also showed that there are things that Ley needs to work on, and for a lot of the opportunities that they'd probably want to have in the future, they'll obviously, they know what they've done wrong, they know how to fix it, and they will be fixing those issues.
Yeah. Well, Leicester City is a champion club. Let's hope they make those right changes before the NSL continues. All right, now your thoughts on the Ecuadorians' performance?
Oh, I can't really say too much because I think it was only in the second match, the 7-0 victory, that
they were brought in.
Peter Gonemba, the head coach for Leicester City Dwellers, decided to blood his players. I think they needed a lot more game time. I also feel that they should have had a lot more game time here in the country before traveling overseas. But then sometimes squads have a different OFC team to the domestic competition. I know that the Malampa Revivers did that. Yeah. They're a much larger squad. Galaxy FC also, their OFC Champions League squad is different from their domestic. So for the Vanuatu teams, they went in heavy. They were importing players from South America, just like Papua New Guinea.
So Jeremy, before I let you go, your final thoughts of the domestic competition, NSL, now that the two clubs are back?
Well, I read really interestingly on Sunday, I think it was, March the 7th, we'll see Hekari United take on Ley City in Ley.
It's going to be a showdown.
That's going to be a really good one. The teams that will be taking on Hekari United and Ley City this weekend, you're going to be in for a rough ride. Both of those teams will not be happy about bowing out of the OFC Champions League.
They have a statement to make domestically.
Their high quality style that they've both employed throughout the time, they're going to be bringing that momentum back into the NSL. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah. Thank you for your words of wisdom, Jeremy Mogi. Thank you for joining us on the show. Okay. Don't go away. Sports Scene continues after the break.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Sports Scene, and this bit is called the Have Your Say segment. Our topic for this week is sports anti-doping, and joining me here on set is Asiani Vagi. Asi, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Now, Asi is an educator for, well, PNG in-country educator, that is, for sports anti-doping. And beginning, of course, with our discussion, we discuss what it means, what sports anti-doping means. Now, for myself, in layman understanding, in terms of sports doping would be the intake of substances, banned substances that would enhance performance. And of course, when we refer to anti-doping, that's when it's the discouraging of, any form of doping. But I'll leave it to you to, share your thoughts on the meaning of anti-doping.
Right, so doping in sports is not only substance, it could be methods also. Say the use of use of needles, that's prohibited in sports also. And anti-doping basically is the fight against performance enhancement methods and substances. In PNG, the Papua New Guinea Sports Anti-Doping Organization was established in the 2000s. And so that's the body that carries out the awareness and the missions for anti-doping.
Speaking of awareness, what sort of awareness or probably educational material or activities is currently ongoing or has happened already?
At the moment, in the recent years, we've worked mainly with Team PNG. So when the team prepares to go attend the games like the Pacific Games or Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, we have the team bonding which we go out and do awareness with the athletes and the officials. We also have conducted some courses for team officials, especially the coaches, and we are looking at doing one this year also. Other awareness sessions would be when national federations host, like the national championships or any international events that they host. We go out and do awareness sessions.
Now, when attending events, international events, that is, how are anti-doping tests or checks done? If you can give a scenario with a sport, maybe.
All right, I'll give a scenario with a team sport, and that's because it should be understood that athletes are not notified. They don't know who's going to be tested. The coaches, the managers don't know who's going to be tested. And it comes through what is called a mission order from the test authorizing organization. So they send the mission order on the day of the event. So with a team sports, it's not a name given in the test test mission. So they would say number 3. That's the athlete that will be tested. Number 3, first half, because there can be changes as the game goes on. So number 3 of that team, for which side, that's clearly defined in the mission order, is written there, is given to the doping control officers, and that's when they target the athlete. So on the day that the test mission comes out, they carry out that mission.
How important is it to stick to the regulations? I mean, not only for athletes, but for the team as a whole, when an athlete is about to be tested, and what sort of consequences do they face when they don't undergo tests or avoid being tested?
Right. So the athlete is responsible to undergo the testing, but they have their rights also, their rights and their responsibilities. So the one responsibility is to do the testing, carry out the testing, provide that sample. Some of their rights are if they have a press event, then they can do that before going to the doping station. If they have a ceremony, like a medal ceremony, then that can wait. The testing can wait. They can attend that and then do the test. Or if they have warm downs to do after training or after an event, they can be allowed to do that before going to the doping control station. But if the athlete refuses, then that is already a rule violation, anti-doping rule violation.
What are some consequences that some athletes have faced before?
Some consequences the athletes have faced before are been banned from participation at an event, a sanctioned event, or association with a coach that has been banned. So we gotta understand that anti-doping is not only athletes, it's the athlete support personnel also.
Right. Support personnel, it can be anyone in the general managing team as well?
Correct. So, or a team doctor,
okay,
or a coach. So if a coach carries in needles into the games village, for example. There is a no needle policy at games, especially at the Olympic Games, the International Games, Commonwealth Games also. If needles are found, then an investigation will be carried out.
I think that happened with some Indian athletes in Commonwealth Games in 2017,
yes.
2018, that's right.
2018, yeah.
What sort of facilities are available at the moment for Papua New Guinean athletes to seek probably anti-doping advice or anything else that's in relation to anti-doping?
So we have the programs, we run sessions with our athletes. We also encourage athletes through the national federations, the team managers, to get the athletes and also officials do the online course provided by WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency. It's so we share the link with the sports, with the federations, and we encourage them to then share with the athletes. PNG SADO is made up of other board under PNG SADO. He's PNG Olympic Committee, PNG Sports Foundation. It's headed by Dr. Amof. We have educators with PNG Sports Foundation also, who carry out awareness or education sessions, and they also carry out the test missions too. We also have our athletes that undergo the Team PNG Hero training. They take that message out to schools and communities that they visit. Test missions are the actual document that comes in and say, this is the athlete you will be testing. Awareness sessions and education sessions are the sessions that we do that awareness, and we educate the athletes and officials on the process of anti-doping, the doping control process, what to expect, how to manage the athlete, because testing and providing a sample is very confronting. Maybe not everyone knows this, but it's the provision of urine in the presence of a chaperone or doping control officer.
It can be.
So the facilities at the moment, currently the tests are done at the locations where the event is happening, and preferably that should be the case. So like the Tauranga Aquatic Center, the John Guy Stadium, the new stadiums that were done, they have adequate facilities to carry out testing. We also do some testings at the Olympic Committee office.
Now, at this point, would you say facilities and utilities for sports anti-doping is readily available to sports federations or even athletes nationwide?
Not quite, because I haven't seen the facilities in other provinces, because we've done testing here, But I understand at the PNG Games, there's some awareness, or the previous PNG Games, there was some awareness done on anti-doping also.
Okay, so I found some information that on October 12, 2009, the International Convention for Elimination of Doping in Sports was ratified by Papua New Guinea government. This enables PNG SADO to apply for funding to UNESCO for its programs. So there is probably a good avenue for PNG SADO to start with, to get the kind of help they need to roll out any other plans for outside centers as well. Question for you viewers. Do you think facilities and utilities should be made readily available, that is, for anti-doping programs in PNG? This has been another edition of the Have Your Say segment, our topic on sports anti-doping.
Welcome back, you're watching Sports in Dini. I understand you have an update for us of Regional Rugby League.
Oh yes, look, Matema'a Tonga and Tonga National Rugby League has seen better days than the last few weeks where the International Rugby League ruled them out of the IRL membership. That's after being on suspension since October last year. Now this came after months of disharmony between players, coaches, and even the board over finances and resources. The side who made the semis during the 2017 Rugby League World Cup were given a week as of February 13th to appeal the IRL decision. And in an IRL statement, it reads, should Tonga NRL choose to do so, the matter will be decided by the members in a general meeting. IRL will not be making any further comments until due constitutional process is completed. Now, Sportsin is following that story closely and will bring you any new developments.
Quite harsh there for a side that beat world champions Australia last year.
And it's unfortunate that they have to go through that, especially when, you know, in the Pacific, they've always been the greatest suppliers of the kind of players you see, like the top players you see in
Indian
NRL.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's unfortunate there for Tonga. Hopefully some good news come for them in the next few weeks.
Hoping for the best.
All right. Before we go, let's take a look at what's coming up this weekend. There you have it. Now, unfortunately, this is where we leave you here on the show. So if you know of an amazing sports story that you would like Sportsin to cover, or an event that is, you may always email us at sports@emtv.com.pg or message us on our Sportsin page on Facebook, or call us on 312-9200 and ask for Bradley or myself. But if you're in Port Moresby, you can always stop by at Garden City Level 2 MTV office, that is in former Boroko, and ask for any one of us, and we would be more than happy to assist you. Now, please join our online forum, discussion forum. Have Your Say will be transcribed and posted on our Facebook page. Please join our forum and share your thoughts again on our topic for this week, that's sports anti-doping. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Dino Straiko.
And I'm Bradley Valanaki. This has been another Sportsin episode. Bye for now.
Coming up next week.